Hello, welcome back to my channel. I really wanted to film a February reset. At the time of filming this video, it is February 10th, so I was thinking we can do more of a mid-month check-in, a mid-month reset, which I typically like to do as well, like just have a little check-in point. Since we're starting this later in the month, we're just gonna treat it as that. I do think it's important to have a check-in moment at the end of a month or at the start of a new month, just to assess where you're at, reflect on the month that just ended, and identify how you would like to move forward into a new month. The first thing that I want to do is reflect on my January goals, so definitely have a little bit of a January review. In my 2024 goal setting video that I previously posted, I'll go ahead and link it down below. I talk about sort of the goals that I want to have for this year, and I did mention how I don't really want to have too many goals. I don't want to overwhelm myself. So having said that, let me go ahead and share the goals that I had set out for January, and I will be referencing my iPad. That's why I keep looking down, because that is where I have my planner, my digital planner. I will also go ahead and link these templates down below. Okay, so one of my goals for January was to engage in a little bit of self-care. So at the time of filming this clip, my child, my baby, is 3 months. She actually turned 3 months yesterday. So for me, it's really hard to tend to myself in general, but after having a baby, it definitely has been an extra challenge to kind of make sure that I'm staying on top of my self-care game. I set a couple of goals. One of them was to get a pedicure, and the other one was to get my hair done. I didn't end up getting a pedicure. This was by choice. I honestly felt like I didn't really need one. Right now, I'm not really going out. I'm not really wearing sandals or anything because it has been a very gloomy, rainy last couple of days. So I kind of wanted to save this pedicure for now. Like, for example, it's starting to be sunny, so maybe this month I'll do that. But anyway, I didn't get a pedicure, but I did get my hair done. I got a little haircut. I'll show you. So I decided on just doing long layers and kind of like framing my face a little bit more with like these front pieces. So I felt really good about that. My hair just feels lighter. That was accomplished. I feel good. I don't often do my hair, but when I do, it gives me that little like push of self-confidence that I need sometimes. The next goal that I had was to just cook more home-cooked meals, and this was definitely achieved. We did eat out, which I'll get into later in the video when I'm talking about my financial review, but I am actually pretty proud at the fact that the majority of the month we were heavily cooking at home, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I would definitely check off that goal. Another goal that I had was related to hobbies, and this was just to scrapbook more. And I did start off strong. Like, I definitely was scrapbooking almost daily, and I was creating like a scrapbook for my pregnancy, but later on in the month it just kind of dropped off. In terms of fitness, it's kind of the same. I started off strong. I was doing my fitness routines, but then I kind of dropped off for about a week or so, and then now I'm starting to back up again, but for the most part it was good. However, there were some drops in the month. And another goal that I had was to continue posting YouTube videos. YouTube is my hobby. I really enjoy this and I want to stay consistent with it. And even though I don't post a lot because it's kind of hard right now, like managing my life with a newborn, I am actively thinking about YouTube, and I promise I'm constantly attempting to film or edit. So this is definitely going to be something that I'm slowly getting after, but definitely staying top of mind. So in terms of that goal, I definitely feel content with my progress and just like my consistency with it. So I would say I accomplished this goal. And something that I also like to do when I'm reviewing my month is not only check in on my individual goals that I had set, but also kind of like go through my weekly planners, because on those weekly planners, I have a little area in which I track my habits, and that just kind of helps me keep my goals more top of mind. I'll share with you some of the habits that I was tracking for January. That was to make sure I'm staying on top of my fitness. So it was to engage in movement for 30 minutes. It was to scrapbook. That was another one. And then another of my habits were to listen to a daily devotional. And a fourth habit that I was tracking this month was to listen to an audiobook or to read. Some of these habits I wasn't doing every day. For example, the movement for 30 minutes, I only wanted to do that 3 times a week versus the devotionals, like listening to devotionals, that was more of a daily habit. So I was looking to get that done every day. And my scrapbooking habit, that was more of a, if I do it once a week, that's good. So I like to set habits, not so I'm doing them every single day, but more so they stay on top of mind. And of course, the ones that are intended to be done daily, try my best to do that. So overall, in terms of my habits, after going through each week and seeing whether I achieved a specific habit or not, I was able to see that I wasn't perfect about it, but I definitely was making attempts to get it done. So that's a little bit on my January goals. Moving on, another thing that I like to do is not only connect with my monthly goals, but also connect with my yearly goals. And I don't know about you, but I definitely am a person that likes to set New Year goals or New Year resolutions. So at the start of a new year, my husband and I like to sit down and set our goals. And that was kind of what I talked about in my previous video that I will link down below as mentioned before. But that's something that we like to do to just sort of set the tone for the year, have some expectations for 2024 or whatever year in question, and move in a way that's getting us closer to those goals. Therefore, the goals that I set every month are guided by the yearly goals that I set at the start of the year, because that's how you're going to accomplish them, right? It's by breaking those bigger goals down into smaller goals. And therefore, I do go more in depth in the video that I mentioned before as to what those goals are. But I definitely do like to sit down and keep connecting with these goals. This is just a printout of those goals that I had set. I like to just sit down with them, identify, okay, this was a goal that I had for my personal life, for my financial life, for my professional life, and how did that reflect into my January? Did I do well? Did I not? So let me give you some examples. For my personal goals, some things that I had set are to engage in more family time. So just creating those memories, taking our little baby girl on trips to the park, things like that. And I can definitely say we didn't do that in January because it was raining. She's also very small still, so we are very careful as to where we take her. We don't really want to be around too many people because of the time of year it is. People have just been sick and we don't want to risk her getting sick. We decided, okay, we're not gonna do any trips this month, but now I can start thinking about, can we do it in February? Things like that. So that's why I like connecting with these annual goals, because sometimes they're left out of the monthly goals. Another goal that I had financially was to contribute to our emergency fund. So based on that, I'm gonna go into my January budget and see, did I achieve this? And I'm gonna talk a little bit more on that later because I do want to have a financial review. But I quickly wanted to mention that it's really important to have that overarching set of goals and use that to guide your monthly goals. And you don't have to incorporate those goals into every single month, but it's important to identify what month you're going to tackle which goal or start tackling each annual goal that you have set. Okay, so I've talked about reflecting on your monthly January goals. I've also talked about connecting with your annual goals. Now I want to have a quick little financial review, quick little money check on how we did for the month of January. I am going to be looking at my spreadsheet. I just have a spreadsheet that I created with my husband. We do it on Google Sheets, and because we do see each of our incomes goes into a pool of our household income, we do our budget together. And because it is a household financial review that I'm about to have, I'm definitely not going to be sharing all the numbers, just because we do have some businesses that I don't want to put in here because it involves me and him, and I definitely want to respect his privacy. And in addition to that, this financial review also includes his income and mine. So again, to respect his privacy, I'm not going to be sharing all of the numbers. I'm just basically going to be sharing what I feel comfortable sharing. Okay, so there are different categories to a budget, right? So there's the income category, that's like the inflow of money, that's the money you're making. And then you have the outflow, all of the expenses. So expenses, we like to categorize them in the following way. We have our fixed expenses. So what that's going to include is mortgage. So we pay a mortgage every month, but this could be your rent. And the next thing would be car payment. Thankfully, I've paid off my car. I have no car debt. I haven't had a car payment in years, but we do have a car payment for my husband. Another thing would be insurance for your car, which we both have. Another fixed expense is internet. There's also your phones and any bills that are the same amount every month. And then we like to have a category for our bills, and these are the variable bills, like they kind of fluctuate every month based on your usage. Some examples of those bills would be your light and water bill and your gas bill. Okay. And then we have a category that is a variables expenses. So this is going to include any subscriptions that you pay. And even though subscriptions are typically the same amount every month, I like to have them under variable expenses because sometimes we will drop a subscription. Sometimes we will add a subscription. So because of that, we have it under variable. Groceries is definitely a variable expense. We have an eating out / entertainment category. We also have a transportation / car, and this is because this includes gas, but not only gas. Like if you had a car maintenance appointment that you had to, take your car into, then that would fall under this category as well. I also like to include like anytime we go out and we have to pay for parking, I like to put that here. So anything that really entails driving or transportation, if I were to take an Uber somewhere, that would go in this category as well. Another category that we have is household / hygiene. And then we have a gifts, self, and miscellaneous category. So this would be anytime we buy someone a gift, that gift can be to ourselves. So that's why we include the self in this category. And then any miscellaneous items that we buy, we just kind of group them all together in here. Another category under variable expenses is medical. And then we do have a category for our daughter, and finally for God. So what God means is sort of like for church, any donations, just anything related to the money being allocated to our faith or our spirituality. And before I share how we did for those categories, how much we spent, I do want to share another category that our money goes into, and this is the savings and investment category. So for example, a savings bucket would be our emergency fund, a vacation fund, and an investments bucket would be like your Roth IRA or your 401k, or just anything that is allowing your money to grow and kind of like compound. That would be an investment. And also we have a category for debt. So if you have student loans or credit card debt or whatever it is, then definitely your money is going to be going to that. So right now I really want to come back to the variable expenses category just so we can see how we did. So I'm going to share what our goal was and versus what we actually spent. Okay, so let's talk about the first variable expenses category, which is subscriptions. Our goal was $103, and this is just based on the recurring subscriptions that we have. However, we actually spent $160 in this category. And I also want to talk about why it's so important to look at your expenses, to look at your bank statements, look at your credit card statements. So we realized that there were some things that we had subscribed to, and we had a certain amount of time to unsubscribe before they started charging us. But then we just forgot to unsubscribe. It just so happens that we did not cancel 4 different subscriptions, and that is where the extra $50-ish are coming from. And I'm pretty embarrassed about that because typically, like, I like to set reminders of, okay, before this day, cancel, but I think our minds have just sort of been everywhere right now, and we're also very sleep deprived because of our baby. So it was a slip up, and it was a costly slip up. Moving on to the next category, which is groceries. And at this point, the background is gonna start getting a little bit noisy because baby has woken up. So dad is gonna go handle that scandal. But let's talk about groceries. So for groceries, our goal was to only spend $380. And this is kind of based on previous months and what we spent. And this was a problem area. What we actually spent was $633.82, which means we went over in this category by $253.82, which is crazy. And I do have some things to say. Good morning. Hi, baby. Hi, my love. Some reflection points here. I think the first thing we identified is some things that we bought, we didn't use up in all of January. So they were things that we were able to use in February. Even though we did spend that amount in January, it's not only serving that month. So that kind of makes me feel better about the fact that, we overspent. Another thing was like the Amazon Whole Foods and Amazon Cardenas. These were purchased online. So like through Amazon, you know how you can buy on Whole Foods. Where we live, we can also shop for the Cardenas Mexican market through Amazon. So even though we did have free delivery for those purchases, a lot of these items are marked up because you are buying online. So we definitely did see that, you know, some things just cost more when you buy them through there, even if you have free delivery. Even though it's so convenient, I don't think we're gonna do as much online shopping for groceries. So in addition to that, I feel like groceries are so expensive, and that's just the reality that we're in with inflation. We're gonna see how we do in February, but we might consider increasing our budget for groceries just because given the price of everything. However, before we get to that, we do want to try and see if we can just bring that even like $100 down. So there's definitely room for improvement in this area. I think rather than bulk buying certain items, we just might buy as we go, like do more of that and have a lot of like smaller hauls, make sure the food doesn't go bad, make sure we're using up everything before we go buy new things. So we're gonna try our best to improve in this realm, okay? The next category that we have is eating out and entertainment. For that, we have a very low budget. I feel like it's so unrealistic. Our budget is $100 and we live in California. We specifically live in the greater Los Angeles area. So things are just expensive here. Like that's just what it is. So I feel like $100 is unrealistic, but we really tried, okay? And what we actually spent for the month of January on eating out or entertainment was $190.11. So we went over by $90.11. Even though we went over, I'm kind of surprised we only went over by $90 because this is typically our problem area. Happy to see that it wasn't by more. I will like to try to bring that down still. So we're gonna try to see how February goes. And if we keep like overshooting our budget, I might just increase it a little bit. The next category is transportation or car. Our goal for this is $300. I'm not driving right now, but my husband does drive quite a bit and his truck isn't the most energy efficient, but he needs it for what he does. And for this category, we spent $260. So we did stay under budget. It still is a lot of money. And a lot of the money wasn't even for gas. It was actually for fast track. Moving on to household/hygiene. So this would be anything that we buy for like decor, or if we buy dish soap, detergent. For hygiene, it would be like toothpaste or shampoo or just anything that we use to keep ourselves clean and tidy. So we actually have a pretty low budget here as well. It was $45. So we definitely went over this. What we actually spent for this category was $155.32. So we went over by $110.32. Let's see what went down here. So for this category, I bought some shampoo and deodorant at TJ Maxx. We did get like some organization containers for the restroom. My husband bought some gardening tools because our weeds were just going crazy, and that pretty much put us at $155. But they were definitely things that we needed to take care of or we needed to purchase. However, I will say that like a lot of times household expenses are things that you do it once and then you don't need to do that same expense again for a while. For example, I won't need to buy shampoo again for a while. The organization container, I'm not gonna buy that again this month. The gardening tools, that's just sort of an investment because we're gonna keep using those and we're not gonna need to keep buying that. I think sometimes I just buy things as I need them. Like I order on Amazon or my husband just goes to buy these things. We're trying to get better at like, okay, looking at the budget first. How much money do we have left to spend in this bucket? And is this something we can wait to purchase till next month? So we're definitely getting better at having that conversation. The next category that I want to talk about is the gifts/self/miscellaneous category. For this, we have a goal of only spending $150. This is another category that we went over in because we treated ourselves this month. We actually spent she looks so cute. So actually spent $477.04. So we went over by $327.04. What is this? So a huge portion of it was actually because my husband started playing in this baseball league. So he had to buy like baseball gear because he thought he had like a bunch of it stored in the garage. But it turns out that I think we accidentally because we were moving at some point last year. We had a bunch of bags that we were going to bring to the new home, but also another category of bags was going to be donated. So I think we actually ended up donating all of his baseball gear. So he realized he had nothing. So he had to replenish all of that. So it was mainly baseball gear. And then I bought some skincare and some nursing bras. I do not anticipate that we're gonna make all of these baseball expenses for February, and I also don't need any more skincare. For me, the way I shop for skincare is I'm gonna buy it and then I'm gonna use it until it runs out. I don't really like buying multiple products for the same thing. I just stick to that one product until it runs out. So those are things that are definitely not gonna happen again for February. And then we have the medical category. Our goal is to spend only $50 and we spent $51.70. So we only went over by $1.70. There were some bills for our baby's pediatrician appointment. There were also some small bills that I'm still paying from when I gave birth to my daughter. What happened?
There was a bee chasing us.
Oh my God.
The bee was attracted to her hat.
Okay, so now I want to share a little bit of our savings/investment category. So some of my savings and investments goals, like I mentioned earlier, I do want to contribute to an emergency fund. So we really saw how important it is to have this, especially last year. So we definitely want to rebuild that back up this year. And a goal for me is to invest $200 into this monthly. And we actually ended up investing $367 into it. So we went over by $167 from our goal. So this definitely makes me feel better about overspending in some of our other categories. And another goal is to max out my Roth IRA. I've never actually been good at this. I'm good at like contributing to my Roth here and there, but I do want this to be the year of more saving and more investing, and definitely into my retirement accounts. So my goal monthly is to aim for $200, and I actually invested $700 into my Roth. I went over my goal of $200 by $500. So continuing with the savings, in addition to our emergency fund, we also have a vacation fund. And this is something that we've started working on more last year, and we definitely want to keep contributing to it. So we did have a monthly goal of contributing $125, and we ended up contributing $125. I will definitely say that for our savings and investments categories, we hit the mark, or we went over our goal, which is definitely good. And this kind of like, for me, balances the fact that, yeah, we're overspending and we shouldn't do that, but we're also not neglecting our savings and investments goals, where I think in previous years, I have definitely felt, from my end at least, that I've overspent, but also neglected my savings and investment goals. So at least this year, we're already seeing an improvement of, okay, we still need a little bit of self-control. We need a little bit of more checking ourselves when it comes to spending, but we're definitely making an active attempt to hit those savings and investment goals. Okay, so that was our financial review for January, and there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. We already are implementing some of the things in February in terms of like how we can improve and how we can stick to our budget. I quickly want to go over some goals that I had for the month of February. So as I mentioned at the start of this video, I want to keep it so simple this year. I don't want to overexert myself. I don't want to spread myself too thin. It's my first time being a mom, and I definitely want to spend a lot of that time with my daughter rather than being concerned about like all these other goals that I want to go after. So I'm carrying over that same energy to this month from January. So one of my goals is to continue with my YouTube video consistency. So again, this may not always be the best. Like I may not always be pumping out content, but I want to keep it top of mind. In addition to that, I really just want to continue focusing on my habits, because I feel like I've selected habits that are really going to keep me balanced as an individual. So I shared those habits when I was going over my January reflection, and that is to continue with my daily devotionals. And right now what this is looking like for me is listening to Bible in a Year podcast. That just keeps me like on top of that daily habit, and I'm really enjoying that as well. Another habit is my working out, my fitness habits. So I definitely want to improve in this area. I was good for the most part in January, but this time around I want to make sure that I'm hitting the 3 workouts per week goal that I have set out. It's only been 3 months since I gave birth. I'm definitely easing myself into working out because I have to just take it easy on my back mainly. And so right now I'm mainly just walking on the treadmill, max incline, and it's been super intense, and it's just like the right amount of fitness that I have been needing. So I'm going to continue that over in February. Another one of my habits that I mentioned is that I wanted to continue scrapbooking. I didn't do very well in this area of hobbies. So I do want to make more of an attempt to at least once a week try to like tape a picture on that scrapbook, like bare minimum even, just keeping that ball rolling. And another of my habits is to read. Because I am part of a book club, I feel like that keeps me accountable, and I've been just enjoying reading fictional stories, like more of fiction books. I'm a very big nonfiction book girly. Like I love self-help, financial, just like self-improvement type books. And I think it's just been a nice switch. I'm tapping into fantasy and just more romantic novels, things like that. So I'm enjoying just letting my brain relax for a little bit. It's been really fun. So that is another one of my habits that I'm going to keep tracking, is either listening to an audiobook or reading a physical book. And lastly, my goal is to stick to our budget. I think it's important to set specific goals. So specifically, I want to improve at our grocery shopping. We went over by so much. We went over by over $250, and I feel like that is not acceptable. So yes, inflation is a thing, and yes, groceries are more expensive, but I do think for a household of 2, I mean, we're a household of 3, but my daughter, she only breastfeeds. In terms of groceries, it's only my husband and I consuming food. We shouldn't be spending $630. Like, I feel like that just seems so high. So I'm gonna try to improve in this area. And that is it. Like, those are my only focuses of the month, keeping it simple to really ensure that like I said, I'm not going crazy, and I'm just keeping it attainable. In terms of the February budget, I'm gonna keep the budget the same as I had it in January because I want to see if I can improve, and if I see that there's just some budgets that are set too low, maybe I can, you know, give ourselves a little bit more wiggle room. But for now, I feel like we can make active efforts to try to hit that mark. Therefore, the budget's not going to change for February. We will see how we do. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I'm really excited for the month of February. We're already in it, and I already feel the shift. I already feel that we're being more intentional, more conscious of our spending, and I definitely feel like the sun's out finally. January was super rainy, so I just feel a little bit more motivation to get after my goals, if I'm being honest. I feel like we're also getting a handle of our routines with our babies, so that's allowing us to do a little bit more things, like get after our goals a little bit more. If you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, drop a comment, share your goals for February down below. I would really appreciate it. With all of that being said, I will see you in the next video. Bye.